Hi, I'm Bruce Spaulding Fuller, and you're watching The Red Booth Show.
Welcome to the Red Booth Show. And happy Halloween, everybody. Well, tonight I have a really special guest, which is perfect because he's worked on movies with monsters and zombies. Bruce Spaulding Fuller, special effects guru. So come and join us, and happy Halloween. So, hey Bruce, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing, Kim?
I'm great. I'm so excited to have you here because, well, for one thing, this is our Halloween episode.
Ooh, spooky.
Woo, which is fantastic because I have Bruce Spaulding Fuller, who is just a guru of special effects in movies. And I think you're going to have some really fun stories to tell everybody.
Hopefully.
Well, like, for example, we have this head, Frankenstein head.
Yeah, this is just my, I do a line of collector masks on the side because I still love it so much. And, coming up as a kid, idolizing monsters, monster masks were something that were always, I didn't have a lot of money, and they were always in the back of the monster magazines. We'd have, the classic Don Post Universal monster masks, and we all coveted those as a kid. And I couldn't afford them. I think they were only like $40 in the day, but $40 in 1977 is well beyond my realm. So I think we were all really inspired by that, and of my generation. Then later there was Distortions Unlimited and Be Something, and now there's like a wealth of Trick or Treat Studios. There's like a wealth of monster makers, but we're all kind of still possessed by latex rubber, if you will. And
So you made this.
I made that. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's my take on a classic Frankenstein without being the Boris Karloff Frankenstein.
Wow. So when you make these kind of masks, you have to create like a giant mold and like car and everything. So it's kind
It
of
starts
like
as a sculpture,
right?
And sometimes this one actually started as two different drawings I had done, and I combined them, and then it's a sculpture. And then you have to make a mold from that, and then you fill the mold with latex, and you let it sit for an hour or two, and you pour it out, and it dries, and you end up with this hollow latex mask. So, and then you paint it.
I'm gonna put it on now.
Go ahead. You're gonna mess your do.
My makeup people are like, yeah.
Yeah, they're all like, no, make her stop.
Well, okay, good. So you have a ton of these. I've actually been and seen some of your private collection, which is really cool. He's got so many different masks and figurines and things, and well, obviously, it's the love that you've been passionate about for a long time.
Yeah, for a very long time. Every day is Halloween at my house.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to wonder, like, when was the first time you put on like a mask?
Oh, I've done it since I was like 8 years old or earlier. I used to read there used to be a monster magazine. In fact, there still is. It's still a new incarnation of it called Famous Monsters of Filmland. And, that was my Bible back in the day. There was not a lot of information or reference available for somebody who loved monsters. So,
right.
So we all got Famous Monsters of Filmland. And it was filled with, all the pictures of all the classic monsters and all that. And it was my go-to. And so I've been passionate about this for a very long time. But in that magazine, you would find out little tiny bits of information. For instance, you'd find out that the original Frankenstein monster, the Boris Karloff one, was a rubber cap, but his forehead was built up every day out of cotton and collodion.
What?
Yeah. Well, right? What? And so I'm a little kid in upstate New York, and I don't know what collodion is, and my mom doesn't know what collodion is, but she did know what latex rubber was and where to get it. And so we'd get this can of like industrial mold making latex, which is not the latex you put on your face. But I did because that's what I had. So I would spend a lot of time in the mirror, like building up a Frankenstein brow with cotton and this latex, and I'd goop it on. And the ammonia content in that latex was so strong that tears would be just running down my face, and I'd be like having the best time of my life making myself into Frankenstein. So I've done it from very, very early on. I was just possessed by it.
That's so cool. Well, and
I live to tell the tale.
That's right. And I mean,
don't try this at home, kids.
And Bruce is an award-winning special effects makeup artist, and he's worked on some of the most epic movies that you guys have probably seen in the last, I don't know, couple of decades. And I thought I should list out a few of them. So I know
Have at it.
he's done well. There's been Army of Darkness, which is a cult classic, completely awesome movie. And I know that you did Terminator 2.
Worked on Terminator 2. Groundbreaking special effects.
That was huge when it came out. I mean, it still holds up right now.
Well, they just re-released it in 3D, I believe.
It's amazing.
So it's still packing them in.
That's right.
Yeah.
And of course, Predator. You worked on the Predator as well.
Predator 2.
Predator 2.
And Aliens versus Predator.
Wow.
So, yeah, I got my hands on the Predator a couple of times.
And now I know that this is actually collaborative when you make these, you know.
Oh, it's super collaborative.
There's other people as well, so I just wanted to say,
50 to 100 other people. I mean, especially on the big shows like Terminator 2 or Predators. Any of the giant shows, there's 50 or 100 people. So it's not me per se, but I'm part of that team.
Yeah.
And some films you get to collaborate, or you get to influence some films more than other films. But so it's always different. It's always a crapshoot, and it's always fun because it's different and working with different people and new challenges. Terminator 2 was the first time that CGI was really employed in that level. The T-1000, the silver metal Terminator. Yeah. We had never seen anything like that before, and at the time there was doubt whether that was even going to work or not. So a lot of puppet effects were still made. When he gets shot through the eye and he's got his eye all exposed in silver, that's a puppet. When he gets Arnold shoots him at the end with a grenade or something, and he's all springed apart and in this big splash. Yeah. That's a puppet for a lot of it.
Wow.
So at that time, it was still a heavy combination of puppet effects and special and CGI effects, largely because Stan Winston was the master of puppet effects, and he was bold in his use of puppet effects. But also because they weren't quite sure what this CGI thing was at the time. It was something ILM was working on, and who knew it was going to take over?
Well, that movie's probably what made it take over.
Absolutely.
I mean, when it came out, everyone was like,
and then Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And I worked on the second Jurassic Park. And,
oh my God.
And it's just like, I was there for some groundbreaking things and some.
Okay, cool. Hold that thought, because I'm getting the signal. We have to cut to commercial, but we'll be right back, and then we'll talk about Jurassic Park and
yes, we will.
The rest of them.
I really wanted to put a deck on my house.
The floor was creaking, and there were cracks in the wall.
I had them put in walls in my basement.
Well, the whole thing was done on time, on budget, and not a day of work was missed.
Alpha Structural is a top-rate company. I'd recommend them to anybody.
If you live in a hillside home and gravity is pulling you towards the edge of the cliff, I recommend you call Alpha.
It was a real pleasure to work with Alpha.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with Bruce Spaulding Fuller, award-winning special effects artist. And we were just talking about some of the major films that you worked on that were part of the shift of special effects in the movies, including Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park 2,
Jurassic
Lost World.
Park 2.
Yeah. I would have killed to have worked on the first Jurassic Park because something groundbreaking was happening there. But I was already committed to Army of Darkness, which has a life of its own.
Army of Darkness, just by itself, like, holy crap, that's such an awesome, like, cult classic movie.
And for me, I was a diehard Evil Dead fan,
Okay.
and it's the third one in that series, so I was super excited to work on Army of Darkness.
Did you work on, like, the little guys?
No, I actually did Evil Ash, the Evil Ash makeup.
Wow.
When he splits apart and turns into the evil half and the good half.
That's so cool.
It was a lot of fun. I got to work directly with Bruce Campbell, who's a nut. And those guys are just a lot of fun, so so I was having fun, no mistake, but I would hear from my contemporaries who were over at Stan Winston's concocting these dinosaurs, and I was just like, oh my God, what is happening over there?
And those were so real they were just,
and again, half and half. It was half puppets and half CGI, because they weren't quite sure what they could do with the CGI yet. It was all the beginning stages of that. And and Stan Winston, master of puppets, he built a giant full-size hydraulic T-Rex, and the T-Rex attack scene when they're in the car and you hear the stomping and you see the water, the ripples in the water, and then the eye comes up, and that's all real. That's all a puppet. That's a giant, I don't know how many pound hydraulic puppet. It's pretty amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a
Only
huge
Stan
robot,
Winston would have
basically.
the chutzpah to
We're gonna make a T-Rex.
Yeah, to say
And
yes
it's gonna
to
be
that.
big.
Everybody else would be like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
His method was to just say yes and then sort of figure out how he was going to do it. So
Awesome.
he was,
What a fun job.
Hey, it beats working.
Now, let's see. Okay, so obviously with our Halloween situation going on here, I wanted to mention a few of the other movies that you've worked on. American Horror Story, Underworld, which I love.
I worked on 1, 2, and 3 of Underworld.
Wow. So what did you do? Like, was it designing how the vampires look, or
Well,
how?
in the first one, I would, there's vampires and there's werewolves, and we have a full werewolf suit, which I helped put on and puppeteer the face. The face is all a robot.
Right, because you have the big jaws and everything.
But I was largely responsible for in the first one, the grand old vampire, they pull him out of the tomb and they resuscitate him.
And he was so gross.
And I was largely responsible for those makeups on Bill Nye.
Wow.
And that's fun. It's always fun when for me, the fun is still when you make a bit of rubber and you sculpt something on a life cast of the actor, but it's still pretty abstract at that point. It's rubber, it's clay, it's latex, and you're painting it. It's when you stick it on the actor, you glue it to him, and all of a sudden it's alive, and he's doing something with it that you didn't expect, and all of a sudden you've created a living thing that shouldn't be, and it's really that's still the power of it for me, and still the fun.
That is so cool. Okay, we have to take another quick break.
Yep.
But we will be right back with Bruce Spaulding Fuller.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with special effects guru Bruce Spaulding Fuller. So you have been working on a lot of different projects, and you have some cool stuff coming out in the future, including, I know there's the new Star Trek show.
Yeah, Star Trek Beyond, I believe it is. It's a brand new show. It's going to air on the CBS All Access Network. I'm not sure how you do that, but that's where it's coming out. Whole new cast, whole new characters. It's a prequel, I guess, to the original series with Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really pretty cool. There's some great makeups in it. The Klingons have a little bit of a different look. No, without giving too much away.
I guess you might be partially responsible for that.
Maybe. Might have something to do with it.
Well,
Can say no more.
That's so cool. And so I wanted to ask, as you've been in this industry for so long, it's obviously evolved a lot, and there's so much CGI nowadays.
Oh, for sure.
How does that affect you as an artist?
It takes bread out of my mouth. No.
But there's more like real life action type stuff coming
There
out
is,
more, right?
for the past 10 years or so, it's been woe is us. We're going to lose our jobs and our houses and all that stuff, and people have been worried about it because CGI took over in a big way.
Right.
But right now, there is this year alone, I've worked on so many different projects. Inhumans, Star Trek. There's a Netflix movie called Bright. That's a Will Smith movie coming out with orcs and fairies and all kinds of things in it. That had hundreds of people doing makeup. There's the Orville, which is Seth MacFarlane's new series. There's so many projects. Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad. All the superhero
He's worked
movies.
on all of those, by the way.
Some of them. The superheroes movies alone bring so much makeup to
and like Game of Thrones, right? I mean,
Game of Thrones, perfect example. But the thing is, most of these projects now, particularly I point out Game of Thrones, is a very good example, and something like the Vision from the Avengers. He's a makeup that they CG over the top of and add to it and change it a little bit.
Like the White Walker and,
like the White
and the
Walker.
dragons.
So we still make things. We make a lot of things. There's a great zombie footage on YouTube right now that they made for behind the scenes footage that they made for Game of Thrones. And it's a zombie makeup, but half of them has green screen pieces missing, so they can make it deeper and hollower.
Right. And like they have missing parts.
And that's all CG. Because we can't cut an actor's arm off, and we can't put a hole in his face. We can't do that. We can only add on. So CG now allows us to have little spaces where, in a combo effort, we can take big hollows out of a zombie's face. Or a lot of the blood gags we used to do are now CGI on Walking Dead, for instance. A lot of times when you see a zombie, Michonne stabs a zombie with her samurai sword, and the blood just goes. That's all CG now. She stabs him with a handle, basically, and they put the blade in and they put the blood out the back. So
with CGI.
With CGI. So yes, it's taken away something that we would have had to do. Yeah. But it's made shooting easier. It's made possibilities endless now, which is it's all good, and we still have a ton of work. So I think we've made our peace with CGI, and I think
people still appreciate the real makeup.
Absolutely, and there's directors coming up now that for instance, the original Underworld, Len Wiseman, who was the director of that, he wanted practical werewolves. He wanted the feeling that they were there.
I think it's great personally. Like sometimes the CGI, I think we're so good at spotting it nowadays as an audience.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty extreme. Like when you have any of these characters like running around,
I still think the best is the combo effort. I mean, I still point to that T-Rex scene in first Jurassic Park it still holds up today. It's amazing, and it's about half and half.
Yeah.
So.
Now, as an artist in this industry, you have all these different projects that you'll be working on simultaneously, right? Kind of. So
sometimes, yeah.
So you sometimes have to go between different sets and shops and things, and
it's a big juggle. Yeah.
Like what's like a little moment in the life of a CGI, or not CGI, I'm sorry, of a special effects artist like yourself?
Oh my God. Well, some days, you have to go to a makeup test at a commercial studio and work out your makeup test, and then you have to go to a studio. You finish that and you go to the studio and approve the sculptures that are being designed for another part of the makeup in another show that's coming up, and then you have to go load all your equipment into trailers for the next show that you're working on the next day, all in one day, sometimes. So it can get pretty hairy and pretty crazy. You're working with different shops, different directors, it's a lot to keep track of.
It's a lot to juggle.
Sometimes you're just pleasantly on one show until it ends, and those are the good times, when you're just you know where you're going every day, you know what you're doing every day, and you know the makeup you're doing every day. But sometimes it's not at all like that, and it's crazy.
Wow. Well,
you have to juggle it, and it's part of the life.
There you go. Part of being in the biz. Okay, well, we have to take another break, but we will be right back with Bruce Spaulding Fuller.
Bye-bye.
Hi! Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
know. I already posted it.
Don't give up hope. Think of the kids.
It's over.
I've never.
We're down by 50.
50. But we're only 2 minutes left.
Huh?
Oh, Norm.
You're going down. Down.
Oh, that does it. You're in.
Finally.
Feed the big man. A case of abuse is reported every 10 seconds. While you were watching this video, 3 cases of abuse, including sexual and physical, were reported. Visit childhelp.org to learn more. And in the meantime, please send in whatever you can.
Use your voice.
Volunteer or foster a child. Donate monthly, become a child helper.
Get involved. Take action.
Get in the game. Fight abuse. 5 children die every day.
Love and hope can change the world.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. We are here with Bruce Spaulding Fuller, the special effects guru. Now, I just wanted to ask more about what sort of monsters and things are so popular. It seems like zombies are just never-ending, right?
Never-ending zombies,
What do you think the fascination is with zombies?
Well, it's... You got me. I'm a little tired of it, but no, zombies are us, and I think they're us being mindless. They're the mindless swarm of us that all congregate to the same thing and unstoppable, and I think we're fascinated with that. We're fascinated by our own behavior. And sometimes we'll jump on a bandwagon, or we'll congregate to something, or we'll just be sort of a mindless horde in life and shopping even. When you go on Black Friday and people are all possessed to do something. And zombies, I think, are a metaphor for that. They're a metaphor for our horde behavior that we do in life. And I think we're all a little afraid of that. Black Friday is the perfect example. If you go to a Black Friday sale, you're going to be trampled, you're going to, if you're not careful, or you're on a busy Manhattan street, or you're on the hive mind, if you will, it's just like, and we all do it, everybody has that part of them in there that follows the crowd, and I think zombies are a metaphor for that.
We'll keep you in business for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no stopping.
Well, okay, so I wanted to ask you, what was the most scariest moment in a movie that you think you've done?
Well, I haven't worked on any of the real scary movies. I'd love to, but I like a moment like in Predator 2 where King Willie is rolling them bones, and he's looking at the bad mojo in the city that's happening, and all of a sudden the Predator plops down invisible behind him and takes his head off. And I got to do his head, so I was very happy with that, because it goes it cuts right from
a freaky moment for sure.
Yeah, it comes right at a moment where it cuts off him, and then you see his head in tight close-up screaming, and it pulls back, and you realize that Predator's carrying his head.
His head's actually screaming?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So that's pretty cool. I was very happy to be involved in that moment.
That's awesome. When you were working on Underworld, did you do the hybrid vampire wolf guy? Did you have any? Oh my God, that was so cool.
Yes, the hybrid. The hybrid was a big design challenge because nobody knew what that was going to look like.
That was amazing.
And Patrick Tatopoulos, who was the designer, he had done this sketch that he was really in love with, and it was the actor's face, and he had drawn a lot of little scratches all over it and made him blue. And none of us knew what to do with that. He handed that off. Okay, here, do this. And do these sexies. And we looked at that and we're like, what is that? So oftentimes you're interpreting a piece of artwork or a photo or a design that you're not quite sure what they're seeing in it.
He turned out to be all black, kind of like shiny.
Well, instead of blue, he was blue in the drawing, but a blue-black. We decided to go. He was actually very dark gray and brown mottled up, but in the lighting, he looked more black than anything. So that's a lot of it too. A lot of it is what lighting it's going to be shot in. I just did a zombie for a commercial, or a guy turning into a zombie. And the director wanted all this fine little, almost grayscale, like Game of Thrones, kind of that kind of thing. And we got him in the light, and the light was pitch black, and we got him in a really dark, shadowy environment, and you couldn't see any of that. So at the last minute, I had to go in and just
take it off.
No, put some more on, But all the careful little work we did in the trailer was out the window, and now it was just, we're ready to shoot. Put something on him, So that happens a lot too.
The lighting, I guess, has lots.
The lighting dictates a lot, and
same with me and my makeup. If I have the wrong lighting, it's so scary,
I doubt that, but so that in the best of worlds, on a big feature, you can work with the lighting designer and plan that all out ahead of time. But sometimes on the fly, like on these commercials, it's just happening. Everybody's doing their thing at once, and you're trying to figure out how to make your thing work with their thing, and there's a lot to it. It is the most collaborative art form.
That's really, I never even thought of all of that, having to be involved in it too. So if you were going to tell somebody that wanted to get into this industry, what would you give them as the main words of advice?
Well, getting into the industry right now is good, because not only is there a lot of work, but there's so much information. But what I want to see, if I'm hiring somebody new, somebody who's just getting in, what I want to see is dedication. I want to see obsession. I want to see the fact that you're going to make things at home, in your basement or your garage or your room or whatever, like I did when I was a kid. There's a makeup school on every corner now. It's so easy to go, it's expensive, but it's so easy now to go to a makeup school and come out with a little mini portfolio. But if somebody's showing me that, and I see, okay, that's a makeup school, makeup school, makeup, and I don't see anything you've done on your own with that knowledge you got at makeup school, then you're not a candidate for me. It goes beyond makeup school. It goes into, there's so much to know, there's so much to learn, there's so much to constantly learn, because it's always changing and upgrading, and I want to see people who are figuring it out on their own. Right. So that's what I would say. If you're trying to get into it now, I want to see your personal work. I don't want to see schoolwork is fine. Have your schoolwork in your portfolio, because you learned something in school. But let's see what you learned. Let's see you do something with what you learned.
So be obsessed, basically. Be obsessed.
Yes.
Yes. I think that it takes a very creative and special, type of personality to create these monsters for everybody. And I just have to say thank you to you, because these are some of my favorite movies, and these moments that you've created for everybody have really made life more fun, and more interesting for all of us. And these are huge moments in all of our collective psyche of monsters and epic villains, and it's just really, really cool. And I'm so honored to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, tune in next time, and thanks so much for watching my interview with Bruce Spaulding Fuller.